I'm Ruben.
Hey Ruben, I'm Johannes.
Johannes, or also known as
Greasy
Fingers.
Today.
So greasy. No, they're not greasy at all. I'm joking.
Today they are.
It's a joke.
They normally are.
All he has is blood on his hands, apparently.
You can see some of it.
Yeah, caught red-handed.
So that's the murderer hand and that's the fixing stuff hand.
Okay. Murder with the left, fix with the right.
Yeah, that's how I prefer it.
On rotation.
Yeah.
So I've heard through the grapevine that you and Wagner managed to create some kind of solution for Porsche owners, particularly Porsche owners that have dead women in their frunk. Is that right?
Happens at times, yes.
It does. How does that happen? How does that happen? How did we get from gearbox oil to what is very clearly a bit of a mystery going on here?
Look at the mystery.
Yeah, there is a mystery. I love murder mysteries, but I'm not very good at solving them. I'm not very good at solving just creating the mystery, but not solving the mystery.
No.
So please, Johannes, explain to us what is going on here. We're at a classic car event, Wagner classic car event. But we have a dead woman in the front of a Porsche 930, and we need an explanation. It's very important.
So it's two things we're doing. I got an old-timer classic car workshop and we're doing classic car rallies, but we're not doing normal standard classic car rallies, but what we call classic car and crime.
I
So it's
see.
actually a new sort of rally idea involving co-drivers,
Yep.
essentially,
Yep.
because you know it's a car thing.
Yeah.
Car things are, guy things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the girls just go, oh yeah, a rally, okay.
So you're trying to add an intellectual aspect to a quite brawny,
Intellectual.
macho kind of thing.
And
Yeah.
I would just call it entertaining,
Yeah,
It gets
yeah.
you through the day.
It does. It gives you something to anticipate.
Exactly.
When you're finished, not just milling around, but actually using the old brain
Yeah.
in the evening once
Yeah,
you
yeah,
stop driving. So how do you do it? Where do we start? How do we get into this?
We start actually at something like 9 o'clock-ish in the morning, and then a crime scene is presented to the participants. In that case, a dead lady in the front. And the day is spent pretty much with with solving the case. So you're going from crime scene to crime scene, from evidence to evidence, and at the end of the day, you're being asked who was the murderer and what happened.
There must be quite a lot of logistics in that if you have
There
to
is.
drive from place to place to discover the evidence needed to convict the felon.
Exactly. So it's a bunch of work for preparing it. We're in Germany. You've got to get permissions for pretty much everything you do.
Yeah. You need a permit.
You need a permit. You need a piece of paper where they say you're allowed to do it.
Yes. Well, that's interesting to hear. So where do you start usually?
It's all in Bavaria right now. And it depends on our sponsors, So we got sponsors, breweries, shops, restaurants, hotels, and we're writing the case specifically for that sponsorship customers.
I see.
So it's one of our thoughts to bring customers to our clients.
Yes. To let them culturally participate in the mystery.
Exactly.
Which is a very cool. It's a novel idea. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it existed.
No.
Usually you would go to a specific location, park up your car,
Yeah.
and spend the evening going j'accuse to a variety of different people. But
Yeah.
in your event, you get to drive your car
Exactly.
and do it as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What is this murder mystery called? Do you have a name for this particular one?
Well, it doesn't have a specific name, but what is going on is she is
Let's have a
chemical engineer.
Another chemist.
She worked for...
Could we replace her with Walter? Put Walter in the front of the trunk.
I don't think it would make that much of an impression, to be honest.
Maybe not.
So we got the victim, Carla,
Yep.
and she's just hijacked, you know. She's gone.
Yeah.
Now the question is who murdered her?
It was Agnes.
It wasn't Agnes. Agnes is her best friend.
It was Bernard.
It might have been Bernard. You have to find out. It could be her brother Claudio
Okay.
from Sicily.
Yeah. Oh.
I work it out. I fix things between us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that makes you the natural born.
natural born
suspect.
killer, yes.
And then there is a guy who works at the workshop,
Okay.
and he put an eye on her.
Ah, I see.
So
I
he's
see.
in love,
Yeah.
but she doesn't really respond to his. You know,
Does Carla drive a Porsche?
she does. It's hers actually.
Ah, I see. That's very, very sad to end up dead in the front of your own beautifully restored Porsche.
Imagine you would end up in your own beautifully restored Opel Astra. It's a much better way to die, isn't it?
You have a point. Yeah, you have a point. How did you find out that you needed a solution to the problem that Porsche have caused?
Well, you see, if you ask 10 Porsche guys about what oil they use, you'd probably get 20 answers. So the right engine oil for a Porsche is something like a mystery. And I personally had problems with 911 engines all the way, you see. And so Walter offered me his solution, and I put it in, and it immediately solved a couple of my problems with the engine, you know. I'm giving you an example. The chain tensioner always makes noises at the first 5, 7, 8, 10 seconds
Yes.
after cold start. Just went away with the Wagner Classics oil, with a little bit of the, you know, porcelain, microceramic stuff in.
Yes, so it's improved some parts of the molecular adhesion
Exactly.
to the chain tension.
Yeah.
Which is what Walter says it does. So you found out.
He's proven right.
Yeah, and that is the best way of finding out if the
Exactly.
product works, is to test it yourself and try to gain a tangible result from it. Even if
Exactly.
it is anecdotal to some degree, you have seen the difference.
You're so right.
Wagner Mikroramik bietet extremen Verschleißschutz, der die Reserven jedes Racingöls um ein Vielfaches steigert. Unsere Mikroramik bietet herausragende Notlaufeigenschaften bei Ölfilmabriss, einbrechendem Öldruck und oder Ölverlust. Opa!
Weißt du, was ich sage, Dave?
Was?
Lass mal die schöne Frau von Heroldinger, das Vorsagen, das ist 10% mehr verkauft.
Mensch, Opa, genau, du komm, du. Ja. Opa tells us sex sells. We should stay here, a sexy lady, so we will sell more.
You sell 10% more. He knows the sexy lady.
How did you find out about Walter?
I got a recommendation from a Porsche guy, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, a real Porsche guy who works for Porsche, and they tried to fix the problem of a different car at a different time and had no solution. So they said, why don't you just try that oil? Maybe that solves the problem. It was a 964. So that's the way I learned to know Walter. And, you know, he's such a knowledgeable guy and all those. He can talk about oil like others talk about wine.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And that's what you need if you're into classic cars. And
Yeah.
a guy who knows what he does and solves problems with products.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just excellent.
Yeah, it is excellent.
And we ended up with the gearbox oil.
Yes. This is for 915 gearboxes.
Exactly. And you could still get the product originally recommended for the 915 by Porsche, but they only sell it in containers of, I don't know, 100 kilos.
Yeah.
100
not,
liters.
not even for a garage, that's quite a lot for gearbox oil.
exactly.
You know,
exactly.
that's at least what would that be? At least 20 gearbox oil changes.
Something like that. Should
Capacity
be
somewhere
even-
between 3 and 4 liters.
Exactly. It should be even more.
So, yeah.
So it takes the time to sell that to your customers. So I said to Walter, why don't we make a better product in reasonable containers? And he caught on with the idea pretty much today. I told it to him, and And ever since, we're trying to develop this and bring it on the market.
Are there any changes? Because I believe Porsche recommended a single grade gearbox oil in the beginning.
Yes.
And what is Walter Wagner developed for this car?
I don't exactly know, to be honest. What I do know is he sent it to the lab to analyze what Porsche put in there, or actually Shell Spirax. And he said, okay, we can take that because it's still available. We can replace this component by some other component, which does the same thing, but it does this, that, and that on top of it, and so on and so forth. And so he made his own brew, and I think he's very close to bringing it on the market today. And that's a relief for all 911 owners.
Yeah, indeed. Do you notice any improvements in the shift selection, in the interaction in the gearbox?
I haven't tested the new oil in my car so far, but what I do use, I always put some microceramics together with the spiral, with the Shell Spirax into my cars, and it helps enormously to make the shift more smooth.
It is, and as you said with the chain tensioners, it's something that customers find. It gives them a little anxiety when they hear any noise at the beginning of cold startup.
Exactly, because it could be something.
Because there's always a fear as well with the older air-cooled engines. People don't. Restoration companies don't often change the chain tensioners, so you always have it in the back of your mind that should I have changed them, should I not? And if that oil and ceramic combination helps improve that, it gives a better quality of life for the owner of the classic car. So it's a problem solved. It is a problem solved.
It is a problem solved.
In that respect.
Yeah, and it takes so much pressure from your mind to be really sure that that thing is all right.
Yeah.
You know, if something goes wrong, it would probably cost you the engine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, chain tensioner failure is not fun.
It's not something that makes you
slightly better in an air-cooled engine than a water-cooled Porsche, but
a little bit, yes.
Yeah, but still an expensive job that you don't want to have to do, based on worries or concerns about oil and the type of lubrication that you have for the vital systems in the valve train. So. Important factor, which is good. Okay, so Johannes, tell us a little bit more about the crime scene, which is the car. It's not the venue. The crime scene is the car.
Yeah.
Tell us about this this very, very beautiful crime scene we have here.
Yeah, let's talk about the crime scene.
Yeah.
So it's an 87 Porsche crime scene.
Yeah.
It's a 911, obviously. With rather low mileage, 147,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the exact one. It has a perfectly sane engine. I never opened it. Did a little bit of, maintenance in the ignition, injection system, replaced this and that, but it's basically sane. I never opened it. The car. It had a rather easy life, but German winters, it just kills them within like a decade or 12 years.
Do they salt the roads in Germany?
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah,
they do everywhere.
That's a big problem in Scotland. A big problem.
It kills them just... if a normal car back then held for like 8 or 9 years and you got an entirely galvanized car like Porsches were, almost were at that time, it would give them another 3 or 4 years, but eventually the salt will kill them.
Yes, there's very little you can do to protect it, except don't take it out in the salt.
That is the point.
Yeah.
You're so right. So it had a number of corrosion issues. No, really, nothing that would kill the car. But I spent some couple of 100 hours to fix all the body stuff. Did a lot of welding under the fenders. There is that very typical spot at the 911s at the C-pillar kidney balls where they normally start to rust. Somebody else did that before, but I wasn't happy with the quality of the work, so I did it again. And that's pretty much the bodywork. I painted the inside of the wheel wells because I like it when you look under the fenders and they're clean down there.
Yes, me too. I like the underneath of the car is as important as the top of the car.
It is, and
what lies beneath? What lies beneath?
I mean, Yeah, it's like the soul of the car.
Exactly. You know, it's like what exists inside the person. The outer aesthetic may all be very well,
You hit
but
the
it's
nail
what
to the head.
inside that counts, right?
Yes,
You
so
know,
right.
the heart and all the other systems in the body, same as in a car, really.
Right.
Same as in a car. So, what inspired you to do that amount of work? Did you work on Porsches before? Have you always loved Porsches? Is it?
Yes, I'm an automotive engineer.
Yeah.
And I worked for Porsche with my own company for a couple of years, should be almost 10. And we developed suspensions of the 991, of the 992.
Okay.
So that's like my original professional background.
Suspension development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a weak spot for classic 911s since I'm a child, you know.
Yes.
Since I was a child. So it was a private thing, and it became a professional thing when the day came that I found it too boring to have an office job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went out in the workshop and found me a much happier man when I do stuff on my cars.
Yes.
And so hobby became profession, and I founded a classic car workshop.
Well, it's great that you know, your passion nurtured a new career.
Exactly.
You know, so that's a great thing to know. And also the obsession with. I love air-cooled Porsches.
Yeah.
One of my favorite cars is a 964 RS, and I've had the privilege to drive a few.
Right.
Because, and modern GT3 Weissach owners will hate me for saying this, but the new Porsches, they're not real Porsches. These are real
The
Porsches.
steering was a defining characteristic of any of the generations of 911. It's about how it feels.
Porsches, the feeling that you get with the light steering, the way the car squats under acceleration out of a bend.
Yes.
It is a singular,
Incomparable, yeah.
it's a singular experience. You know you're driving a Porsche without looking at it, without looking at the badge and the monocle.
All the
anything
sounds,
like that.
you know, it starts with the door openers.
Yes,
just
and I've opened many of these
everything
doors.
is
You know,
just
I've taken a lot of these door cards out. I know what it's like. I've seen all the different. I know what it looks like inside.
Are you putting the foils back in?
Yes, of course. You need to
Good
put the
man.
membrane
You
back
need
in.
to put them
Otherwise,
back
you
in.
get all the rot in the
Yes.
bottom, and people don't. They cut them and they take them back
And I get
together.
crazy about that, you know.
Because people don't understand what the purpose of it's for, and they're lazy.
Yeah.
They're lazy, and
Yeah.
you know it's something that does not help the cars. You need as much waterproofing as you can in a
Exactly.
car. It's an important factor.
Inside the door, that's wet area. You got to understand that.
Yeah.
Water goes through the door.
Yeah, people don't. But you know what can you do? What can you do? Some people don't care what they put inside them. You know, you do. You care what you put inside yourself and your car.
And Wagner
That's
does.
why you put Wagner in it.
Exactly. Goes a little bit above 1,000, you know.
Yeah.
Then
Wait for the cold.
within the
start.
first minute, it falls below
Yeah.
1K to like 940, and then you know, you get
Stable
a
idle.
smooth engine.
It sounds good.
It sounds good. It has reasonable oil pressure. Everything, every little thing on the car is working.
People get far too concerned about oil pressure in air-cooled cars. It is not as important as, say, on a modern turbocharged 996 or something like that. You know, anywhere hot at 1 bar, 0.8 bar is what Porsche say is okay, and a lot of cars idle at that. You know, that's okay. You know, it's not.
It's not the
Not the end of the world, but it is the paranoia gauge, right?
Well, and I can understand it to some extent. You know, those guys, they're spending so much money, so they want their darling car to be okay in every single respect, and nothing like the nightmare of a broken engine. So I can understand,
Yeah,
and that's what we give them.
yeah, that's cool.
You know, I'm doing this filming and YouTube production all the time. sometimes I decide that I want to spend time in filming, and then the car specifically that day or hour doesn't make great progress.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have anybody next to me who is pushing me, who wants to carry on with his work but needs to wait till I got my filming done. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm doing it all on my own. And that's such a relaxing way to work. I mean, it's not very profitable, but it makes me much happier, man.
That's good. That's good.
It's all that counts, isn't it?
Yeah. And you get to drive nice cars. Yeah. And you get to solve murder mysteries.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got a body in the front.
You do have a body in the front.
It counts 3 fingers.
3 fingers.
It's a 3-fingered hand.
Ooh. Now,
So the murderer lost the finger.
how, did he lose that sticking his fingers in places that he shouldn't?
He's a chemical engineer. It was a chemical accident, some sort of acid accident. I don't know. Far back in the past.
Okay.
But that's the main
That's your big
evidence
that's
to
your
solve
big
the case,
yeah, that's your evidence to solve the
3-fingered
case.
hand.
The 3-fingered hand.
Now look at the suspect.
Let's have a look. Ah, well.
So she's the victim, you know.
Yeah, she's a victim.
She's the victim.
So it
That's-
must be someone that she works with then.
It could be someone that she worked with.
Or maybe it's a hapless mechanic who is a bit clumsy. I mean, he is hiding his hands here.
Yes, he's hiding it, and that makes him very suspicious.
Highly suspicious individual.
He's from Sicily, so he's a suspect by
Yeah,
nature.
automatically.
Oh, yeah.
Automatically.
Just can't-
Automatically suspect. It's fine. The Sicilians love it. I've heard this before. They're happy to play act the villain.
And this is Bernard, you know. He's a chemical engineer, and he's very jealous on
yeah.
the victim because she invented some stuff for Wagner that
I
he
d-
wasn't capable of inventing.
I think you're right. I think he's jealous because she's got a very nice Porsche.
And she's got that.
Yeah,
Look at the Porsche.
yeah. This is true. This is true.
And now, count his fingers.
Yes, I'm seeing some missing digits somewhere here. Yeah, I think we may have found
You got it, Ruben.
our solution to the crime here. A jealous colleague,
Yeah.
jealous of her intellect, jealous of her
Jealous
position,
of her legs.
jealous of her legs.
Jealous of her Porsche.
Exactly.
Jealous of everything.
What a horrible man.
Yeah.
What a horrible man.
Yeah, and he looks like devilish, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He looks like a real piece of work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Bad Bernard. Bad Bernard is his name.